Just as Zhu Kai and his cronies were about to strike, he kicked them cleanly out the window, their shrill screams echoing, inside, with a cold expression as if he just tossed out 2 bags of trash. He turned to the group plotting rebellion and, in a low but authoritative voice, asked, "Anyone else want to make trouble?" One member of the group hurriedly changed his attitude, bowed his head and apologized, saying he had been blindly influenced by Tantran and had considered leaving the Dragon Blood Society. Now realizing his mistake and fearing that if expelled he would have nowhere to go in Huadu, Ouyang surveyed them, understanding their psychology, and calmly declared that this time they would not be expelled, but all their positions would be placed under observation. If they failed to meet the requirements they would be dismissed, and they would be banned from participating in any society activities for the week. When one of them still hesitated, he cut in coldly, his gaze like a blade. "I'm asking, do you accept?" That single look was enough to terrify the whole group, and they immediately shouted in unison, "We accept." After putting everything to rest, he told the disciplined members to leave, keeping only the core members of the Dragon Blood Society to discuss important matters. He told Ouyang bluntly that he understood the society's current situation, lacking money, investment, and influence. Ouyang confirmed and said that the Great Summer Retrieval, taking place a month from now, would be the best opportunity for their reemergence. However, he felt that plan was too slow. He immediately broke into a mischievous smile and, more directly, proposed that he challenge Xiang Jianzhong, who was seen as the reason the Dragon Blood Society had weakened. If he won, the society's reputation would be restored. The entire room fell deadly silent. Everyone looked at one another, and no one dared to speak. Finally, Ouyang spoke softly that Xiang Jianzhong had announced a closed-door seclusion this morning to break through to the Martial Master realm, so he couldn't appear for the time being. He heard this and was slightly disappointed but hadn't abandoned his plan. He reasoned that if the aim was to attract investment with prestige and martial strength, it wasn't necessary to confront a single person. After a moment's thought, he came up with a bold idea: to stage a huge stunt by challenging every top expert in the entire school. As he thought this, he suddenly remembered something and immediately asked about the Dragon Badge First Division. At the mention, Yanzheng Xiong immediately explained excitedly, "The Dragon Badge is the foremost martial organization in Great Xia, and the First Division is its strongest branch. Members of other divisions are only called Dragon Badge Specialists, but those from the First Division all bear the title of King's Badge, the pinnacle among martial practitioners." When he heard Yanzheng Xiong talk about the Dragon Badge First Division, he asked one brief question: did he truly long to get in? Yanzheng Xiong immediately answered passionately that it was every Huada fighter's dream, because the First Division gathered the country's top powerhouses, led by Qing Long, the nation's second strongest, and each year fewer than 3 graduates were accepted. He smiled knowingly, as if he had already grasped the plan. He ordered the Dragon Blood Society's news division to act immediately and spread the information. Then he sprang to his feet, his eyes shining, and declared in a clear, commanding voice that he, as the Dragon Badge First Division's King Token Specialist, would challenge every fighter below the rank of Grand Martial Master across the entire school, arguing that this stunt would be big enough to attract investors and restore the society's reputation. However, his enthusiasm left the whole room stunned. Everyone was bewildered and couldn't believe it. Yanzheng Xiong was the first to speak up, hesitantly asking because he knew the rules. You can't take part in the Dragon Badge selection before graduating, let alone become a King Token Specialist. He merely smiled and replied that he didn't need to take the exam. He had been directly appointed through a special recruitment. Although there was no official paperwork yet, the appointment had been confirmed the night before. That remark left Yanzheng Xiong speechless, while Ouyang was eager to verify it, but only received a firm answer: "I'm not joking." In the end, in an atmosphere of half-belief and half-doubt, Yanzheng Xiong could only mutter as he confirmed that crazy plan: to challenge every martial artist in the school below the rank of Grand Martial Master. At that moment, he began recalculating the entire plan in his head. Against ordinary martial masters, he could easily overwhelm them. Against geniuses it would only take a little more time. However, if he had to face a Grand Martial Master, he'd be forced to use his ability Time Stasis, his ultimate trump card. But that was a strategic asset. Once made public he'd lose his informational advantage, and revealing this secret merely to attract investment would be too wasteful. Thinking that, he smiled faintly. If he didn't have to keep it secret, he probably would have challenged the entire Imperial University, not just Hwada. Meanwhile, Ouyang gradually placed his full trust in him. Although he felt everything was beyond reason, because the plan came from he still trusted him and immediately reported to the news division to prepare for action. Not long after, the school's media network was rocked by sensational news. He, the head of the first cohort who had been missing for half a year, had returned as the Dragon Badges champion of the first department, and had even declared a challenge against all martial artists below the rank of Grand Martial Master at Hwada. The news spread rapidly, sending the whole school into a frenzy. Some were astonished that anyone could be so presumptuous, while others wondered who he was, since until now Xiang Jianzhong had been the standout figure of the first cohort. A number of students remembered that he had been the freshman top scorer, the one who shook the academy by reforming the opening exam and then vanished without a trace for half a year. Some suspected that his becoming the top scholar was a fabrication, because this year's selection for the first scholar was notoriously severe, with an almost certain failure rate. Some gossiped that he hadn't even taken the exam and had been admitted directly, perhaps thanks to a special appointment, which made the public both curious and scornful. On the student forum, countless comments erupted, some jeering, others marveling, plunging all of Hwada into a lively wave of controversy. At Hwada Hospital, Chu Zhou and Lu Qingzhu also quickly read the news about he and the animated online comments. As the person who knew him best, Chu Zhou merely smiled and muttered that he truly never sat still, while Qingzhu also chuckled, remarking that someone was about to run into bad luck. At the same time, the school's official bulletin confirmed that he was a special talent of Hwada, exempt from exams and directly admitted into the Dragon Badge. However, instead of being recognized, the announcement sparked a wave of suspicion among the martial students. Many claimed his entry into the first division was due to connections, that he lacked real ability and did not deserve the Dragon Badge title, despite official bodies having issued confirmations. Ouyang monitored the entire development and saw that the spread had peaked. He tasked the special team responsible for guiding public opinion with continuing to steer the media narrative, and the members of that team confidently set about their work. On the forums, the debate kept erupting. One camp insisted he was a braggart given special treatment through shady deals. Another argued that no one would publicly challenge the whole school without real ability, and that the proof would be visible when watching the match live. All three factions, supporters, opponents, and neutrals, directed their attention to the same point: the upcoming live broadcast. Ouyang was ecstatic, as if on cloud nine, and thanks to deliberate stoking from many directions the event's heat skyrocketed. Major streaming platforms vied to contact the Dragon Blood Society for exclusive live broadcast rights, while brands and advertisers rushed in with investment to appear during the broadcast, and in just one day, thanks to the enormous pull of the name the Dragon Blood Society secured abundant funding, moving from stagnation back to prosperity. And while public opinion was seething, in Special Ward Number 17, Zhu Kai, badly wounded and hospitalized after being struck by his hand still trembling, but he stubbornly gripped his phone to check the latest news. Not out of fear, but because he was crazily excited when he read that he was personally organizing an all-school challenge match. He laughed maniacally, convinced the other side was courting death. He shouted loudly in the ward that in fighter contests blades have no eyes, killing someone on the stage would go unpursued, and that this was a heaven-sent chance for him to take revenge. Meanwhile, at the central arena, the atmosphere was more feverish than ever. The stands were packed, cheers thundered, and the entire school was swept up in the event. As everyone buzzed, a helicopter suddenly appeared in the sky, drawing every eye. The airplane door opened. He materialized in brilliant light, standing firm at the edge of the doorway. The announcer's voice reverberated through the space, officially declaring the opening of the Hwada Arena match and introducing the evening's central figure, Immediately after, he leapt straight out of the helicopter, plunging down like a blazing blue meteor, his speed so great that only a long streak of light tearing through the air could be seen. When he hit the ground, the arena floor trembled violently. An explosion thundered out, accompanied by fierce blue flames raging like a storm. A choking haze of smoke and dust spread, then slowly cleared, revealing he standing resolute in the center of the ring, eyes cold. His presence oppressively suffocating. The moment he touched down on the arena, the whole forum erupted. A barrage of comments poured in. Some heaped endless praise. Others were so excited they swore. Everyone was overwhelmed by his theatrically dramatic debut. In the middle of the arena, he stood towering under the silver light of the high-hung moon, arms outstretched as if to receive all the glory pouring down, each cold beam of moonlight washing over him. Only then did people truly realize he was not merely a challenger, and that all the others, though nominally opponents, were actually stepping onto his stage to witness the authority of the one who reigned.